reached to Jodara. In that place, two possessed people were actually emerged out from the tombs, and upon emerging, Jesus Christ did heal them. He healed them from the evil spirits. And you remember the story of the pigs, the swine pigs. You remember that. So this happens as per Mark 5 in the southern part, in the northern part of Syria, in the northern part of Jordan, in an area called Jodara. From there, Jesus Christ continued to reach till he reached the city of Anjara. In Anjara nowadays, they have already added Anjara city as one of the pilgrimage sites, in addition to Mount Nebo, in addition to St. George, in addition to Bethany. And it was considered a pilgrimage millennium in the year 2000 upon the visit of John Paul II for the site there. In that place, there is a church called Lady of the Mountain. So many miracles happened in that church, and up to this moment, a lot of miracles are happening there. For a lot of people who are coming there, whether they are believing in Jesus Christ or not, God is healing them in an amazing way. In the north, in the Lady of the Mountain Church in Anjara city. From here, actually, there is another track from where the Exodus started. And you remember that Moses has led the 12 tribes from Sinai Desert when they have reached to Kadesh, and they came back through the port of Aqaba, where Aqaba was the first crossing point in Jordan, and during that time it was called Island. From the narrow path, from here they have crossed into the Edomites' kingdom, and from that place they have sent a messenger to the king of the Edomites' kingdom, asking him to cross from his land, but he wouldn't let them do it. So rather than doing so, they kept actually walking around the borders of the city of Petra, and they reached to Mount Hor. And you know the story, because actually Moses and Aaron didn't accomplish God opposite to the people when he asked them to talk to the rock. God has actually prevented them to cross to the promised land. And that's why God has told them that Aaron should actually go with Moses and his eldest son to climb Mount Hor, where he is supposed to die there. And at that moment, he's supposed to remove his priestly robes and put it on the shoulders of his eldest son Eleazar to become the next priest of the Jews, especially that Aaron was the first priest of the Jews. So in that place, Aaron died. And as per the Bible is telling us that Moses and Eleazar went down from Mount Hor, and the people cried after the death of Aaron there. Then from there they continued to walk at the borders. Since the king of the Edomites refused to allow them to cross from his land, they didn't start any fighting with the Edomites. Why? Because God told Moses not to despise the people of the Edomites, for they are the descendants of Esau. And from there they continued to move till they reached the Moabites' kingdom, which was lasting from Arnon River till Azarad River. And from that period, actually during the Exodus, the area of the Moabites' kingdom was lasting from Arnon River till Al-Hissa River, which is Azarad River, where previously it was expanding till it reached Yabok River. But during the Exodus time, Sihon, the king of the Amorites, occupied the northern part of the Moabites' kingdom, and it ruled under his control, and he took from Husban, nowadays Heshbon, during his time, a capital for his kingdom. So he ruled in between Yabok River, which is nowadays called Azarka River, up to Arnon River, which is nowadays called Al-Mujib River. So the northern part of the Moabites' kingdom was under the occupation of the Amorites' kingdom. And during that time, when they reached the borders of the Moabites' kingdom, they asked the king of the Moabites, who was Balak during that period, to cross from his land. But again, he wouldn't let them do it. And again, God told them not to start any fighting with the Moabites people, for they are the descendants of Moab. And actually, God is not willing to give Ar for Israel, because God gave Ar for the Moabites. And from there they continued at the borders of the Moabites' kingdom, and they asked the king Sihon, the king of the Amorites, to cross from his land. But again, he wouldn't let them do it. But rather than that, he prepared his army and he met them at an area here called Jahaz. It is Jahaz Valley. In that place, he had a fight with the Israelites, and the book is telling us that God gave victory to the Israelites against Sihon and his army. So they took his territory for over than 300 years. But from that place, they continued till they reached Madaba city. And from Madaba city, they have camped in the lowland of Mount Nebo. And from there, actually, Moses did climb the mountain. And from the peak eastwards, Jericho, God showed him the promised land and told him that you will see it with your own eyes, but you will never cross over into it. And you know that Moses there ended his mission. And from that place, actually, he died, and God personally buried him opposite to Beth Peor. Beth Peor, nowadays, it's called Al-Mukhayyab. So in that place, no one knows the burial place of Moses up to this moment, as per being mentioned in the Old Testament. From there, actually, Joshua and Caleb bin Nun were the only two Israelites from the old generation who continued to lead the 12 new generation to cross the Jordan River. So Joshua and Caleb bin Nun has crossed again from Beth Abara. Beth Abara is supposed to be the crossing point. That's why it was called Beth Abara, the house of crossing. So Elijah and Elisha did cross from Beth Abara. Joshua and Caleb bin Nun led the 12 tribes to cross to Jericho through the Jordan River from the point of Beth Abara. And again, Jesus Christ, when he has crossed the Jordan River to meet John the Baptist at baptism site, he crossed again from Beth Abara. There are 3 points that are available, one in the west bank, one in the east bank, and actually one at the crossing point in the Jordan River. One is called Betania. Betania is the place where Eliezer been born in, and it means the house of sorrow, because Eliezer died there and Jesus Christ cried there, and you remember that. The second point was Beth Abara. Beth Abara means the house of crossing, from where all those prophets did cross from the western bank of the river to the eastern bank to the baptism site. And the last one is Beit Ainun. Beit Ainun is located in the eastern bank of the river, and Beit Ainun means the house of song, the place of joy, from where Jesus Christ has started his mission after being baptized by John the Baptist. Another track from this place actually is to follow the steps of John the Baptist. Very close from the baptism site, by nearly 24 kilometers to the east, there lies a hill that has a height of 737 meters above zero level. That hill is called Makawar. In the Old Testament, it was called Macheros. In that hill, there lies a castle for Herod, where actually John the Baptist been already imprisoned in and later on beheaded. So you can follow also the steps of John the Baptist along the banks of the Jordan River till Makawar Hill. In Bethany, people got used to believe that the baptism site is situated in the western bank. Why? Because the old traditions was talking about it, because actually also the area was already cultivated with bombs, so it was not that easy for them to clear the area, especially it is the line border in between Israel and Jordan, and because actually people believe that the Jordan River goes as a line. But unfortunately, when they have went there, they have discovered that the Jordan River goes like an S shape. So whatever they got used to believe it is already located in Israel was in fact located in Jordan. So from that place, they started to walk in the excavation after signing the peace treaty with Israel in 1994. So in 1996, they have discovered Bethany in the eastern bank. How actually they started to think in this way after the discovery of St. George mosaic map, where tomorrow we are going to visit that place. They've located the Bethany at the eastern bank. After actually searching about the subject, after searching about the site and the translation of the name, they have discovered that the place where Jesus Christ being baptized is already situated in the eastern bank. So they search in the writings of the pilgrims, the writings of the historians since the 3rd century up to this moment. And they found a lot of records talking about Bethany across the river. So people got used to cross the river to the eastern bank, where there is nowadays a discovery being found in Bethany, where a big complex of churches, caves, baptisteries, in addition to springs being found there, where people got used to believe that each church was built above the old one since the 3rd century up to this day. Because actually the floods of the river were destroying all the churches, people, because they believed that this is the place of baptism for Jesus Christ, they kept building above the remains of the old churches in the same place. And from the collection of the data being already collected from the historians, the pilgrims, in addition to the archaeological remains that being tested, and that's going back to the 1st century after that, where they believe that Jesus Christ during that age was there and he was baptized in that place. That's why actually the baptism site in the eastern bank being announced again by the Pope John Paul II as the 2nd millennium baptism place in the whole world, and it is considered the holiest spot ever in the whole world for Jesus Christ already being baptized in its water. But people usually from the bank of the Jordan River are getting baptized in the Jordan River from both sides, from Israel and also from Jordan. But I want to remind you that Jesus Christ didn't baptize in the river, the stream of the river itself, because the level, the depth of the river was too deep. During that period, the flow of water was running very heavily and very fast. That's why they called it Al-Kharrar Valley. And because of the voice of the running water from there. Nowadays, once you go there, the level of water being dropped down because of the lack of water that comes from Yarmouk River. Syria has dug a lot of channels after the year 1983 in order to irrigate the southern part of the land here. So they built a lot of channels and dams. Again, once it comes through, it drops in Tiberias Lake. From Tiberias Lake, Israel also has dug a lot of channels in order to irrigate the Israelites area. So the flow of water being actually reduced. That's why there's a lack of flow coming from the north, from the northern part of Jordan through Jordan River. That's why the level of Jordan River now being dropped down. If you did go to Bethany from the other side, from Israel, you will find that the water is very shallow and it is muddy. It's not healthy to carry water with you from there. So actually, this is the reason also behind the drop down on the level of the Dead Sea. And as you know that the Dead Sea is the lowest spot in the whole world. It is minus 423 below the Mediterranean level. That's why it has high temperature degree. That's why it has high humidity there. But mainly this factor, the lack of flow of water that comes from Yarmouk River through Tiberias Lake and through the Jordan River, which is considered the only supplement for the Dead Sea, actually the level of water in each year is dropping down by nearly 1 meter. So by the year 2050, we are expecting that the Dead Sea will get dried completely. That's why they started to think of an emergency plan in order to support the Dead Sea with water, especially after being announced as a worldwide heritage. So they started to work on 2 projects. The first project, you might notice big black pipes on the right side along the hallway. It comes from an area called Adise. Here there is a city called Wadi Rum. In that valley, there is a small town called Adise. From there, they have discovered beneath the desert a plenty storage of water that looks like a sea. They have tested the water. Since 4 years, they are working in this project to extract the water. The pipes will take nearly 325 kilometers to link Wadi Rum with Amman city, from where they are going to pull out water for drinking and for agriculture purpose. They tested the water, it's healthy, it's pure, and it can be used by human beings. But currently still the project is under process. It is supposed to be finalized by December 2013. And the expected amount from that water is 100 million cubic meter, and it is expected to provide us with our source of water up to the year 2040. But as you can see, the amount is not enough also to support the Dead Sea. So they thought of another project, which is actually to pull out the water from Bahrain Beach, from the Red Sea. That's why the project is called the Red Sea Project. But after making the study for the Red Sea project, it has been already frozen. Why?